The Pavia Factor is going to be a huge difference maker as both of these teams are very equal in what they do.
You are Locked On Vandy, your daily podcast on the Vanderbilt Commodores, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome into the Locked On Vandy podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Corey Burton. Joining me for his weekly visit from Off-Season After Dark, it's Mike Huesmann. Mike, man, we're going to look at Missouri by the numbers, but, man, I've been talking about it all since he stepped foot on campus, but the Pavia Factor is a real thing. What have you noticed from the outside looking in about the Pavia Factor? How did it affect that LSU game?
He's one of those guys who the rest of your teammates feel like they can rely on him when things are, whether they're going well or going poorly. If you need a spark, if you need to just lean on somebody, he's one of those guys that his teammates feel comfortable doing that with. And that's infectious. When you feel like you can rely on somebody else, you're going to play better because you know you don't have to be the guy. Pavia is the guy, and you just have to do your job. I think it's a good way to put it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's probably the most perfect way to define that. And by the way, speaking of perfect, this episode's brought to you by FanDuel. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Like I just said, right now, new customers can bet just $5. And if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Download the app today. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for making us your first listen. I'll tell you, if I could, I would bet on Diego Pavia in some player props because you know he's going to put those numbers up. But I started the conversation. The campaign has started. It's hashtag two-turnt, and it's a Heisman candidacy. Right now, I think I saw the last list I saw, and I put out a poll: Fernando Mendoza, Ty Simpson, Diego Pavia. Rank them.
Yeah, I voted in it. I was in the minority that I would have Mendoza number one right now. I'm followed by Simpson and then Pavia. I do think among those three, though, so much can happen the rest of the way. If Mendoza gets rolled by Ohio State, he's going to drop. Conversely, Julian Sayin might leap up into that group. Simpson and Pavia are both guys who we expect their teams to win games. Like Mendoza. I mean, Indiana's going to win games. But if Vandy wins 9 games, 10 games, he's going to be in New York and have a chance. If Simpson wins the conference, makes the playoffs, he's going to be in New York. And there's a lot to play for right now that I would go Mendoza, Simpson, Pavia. For me, the numbers and stats do matter, maybe more than they do, because some people say, what he's doing, that he has that it factor and so on. He certainly does. The numbers still, I think, they're going to be the decider for me when the margins are so tight.
Yeah, I mean, these margins are razor thin, and it's pretty wild that 2 of the 3 top guys, top front runners are from Indiana and Vanderbilt.
Yeah. Like
right now, Indiana's excited about basketball, usually. But right now, it's all football for the Hoosiers. But, you put Diego Pavia into that conversation, I think you get him to New York, and now Coach Beck, Coach Kill, Coach Lee can say, hey, quarterbacks, you can make it to New York with this offense. If Diego Pavia somehow makes it onto an NFL roster, even if it's a clipboard holding third string job, it doesn't matter. Hey, this offense as a quarterback will get you to the NFL. If you've got some of the measurables and you can put up some numbers, you will get to the next level. You will be in Heisman conversations. You will be in all of those things. They can pitch that. They can say, hey, you'll make a playoff run. Like, we are for real here at Vanderbilt. And I think that impact is more than anything. And the fact that Vanderbilt just has a guy in the talks, I think is amazing. Now, do I think he's going to win? If it ended today, no. I like Mendoza. I think he's done a phenomenal job. He's got the numbers to back it up too. And then Simpson's right there with him. And that's like a it's like a hair's width margin between those two guys, and then another hair's width margin.
I always tell people too, when you're talking about the Heisman, you have to conceptualize it in the regional voting blocks, which it takes place in. Simpson and Pavia probably split some votes from each other. Mm-hmm. Mendoza might carry the whole Midwest and Northeast. That makes a difference. And if Oregon finishes the regular season with one loss and goes to the Big Ten title game, which they realistically could, Dante Moore is going to be back in it as earlier in the year.
Yeah. And honestly, because Alabama is going to keep winning. I have no doubts that they're going to keep winning. And then you look at, Vanderbilt. If Vanderbilt makes the playoff, Diego Pavia's in New York, like you said. I think that's a given. I think he's in New York. Even if they have three guys above him, they're going to add a fourth chair for him because of what he did and what he accomplished. And he's going to kind of be a achievement award, not necessarily I think sometimes when you get these finalists, I think occasionally you get a guy like a Pavia that gets invited because of what he's done for his school and what he's done for his program. And just like
Toby Gearhart was a guy like that. He's been so good at Stanford for multiple years. Yeah.
Yeah. And the stats, the stats are okay, but it's the wins. And Stanford had been abysmal up until that point.
Yeah.
And he kind of helped. He's kind of started a nice little run for Stanford football. I think Diego Pavia has a chance to do that. So let's talk about this game, though. Let's talk about the Pavia factor in this game, okay? Because when you look at Missouri's offense and you look at what they want to do, Vanderbilt and Missouri really want to beat you the exact same way.
They do. I was shocked in looking at the stats how similar they were in a lot of ways. Yeah. So one of the things I wanted to ask you, it's one of the stats I usually bring up when we talk is third down offenses. Mm-hmm. These are two of the elite third down teams in the country. Mm-hmm. Vanderbilt is the second best team in the country, converting 56%. Missouri's the sixth best team, converting 54%. Why are both of these teams so good on third down, do you think? And do you think in this game, one of them will have the edge over the other one in it?
Yeah, I think in the cold open, I mentioned the Pavia factor. I think that's the edge for Vanderbilt, honestly, because he is such a good creator when things break down. He's such a force. He just makes plays. He just makes things happen. And I think the fact that Bo Pribula is tremendous as a quarterback. Like he's kind of up and down right now, but I have a ton of respect for what he does and the abilities he brings. He's just sometimes you just don't know what you're going to get. Pavia is obviously the veteran guy. He's been in the system. This is his second year. He's very confident, and they got weapons. So I think that 2% of gap is Diego Pavia, and that's the edge. But the reason why Missouri is so elite is because Ahmad Hardy is so good at running that outside zone, and Jamal Roberts likewise, that I would be willing to. I don't know how deep I want to dive into this, but if I did and I looked at the situation and the drive charts, I bet you would see more than not 3rd and 4 or less. I think you see a lot of that 3rd and short situations. Yeah. And when you get 3rd and short situations, Ahmad Hardy's a physical, tough enough runner to be able to convert those. So, yeah, I think it's going to be the Pavia factor, and I think that 2% is going to make the difference for Vanderbilt.
One other now that was the third on the offense. On the defensive side, third downs to counteract that. Mizzou is the 7th best third down defense, though they were significantly worse against Alabama in that game. Vandy, further down, they're the 65th best third down defense. Where do you think that disparity might come from?
I think, honestly, I think Bama for both teams. I think Missouri would be better if they played slightly better against Bama. Their rank would probably be. Yeah. Did you say where'd you say they were?
They were Mizzou was 7. Vandy
So
was 65.
They'd be top 5. I think Vandy would be in the top 30 outside of that Alabama game.
Yeah.
It's honestly it's the passing game, the pass defense. Yeah. I think sometimes when they don't get home on their blitzes, some of the miscommunications, things like that, passes being completed in windows. I think there's still a little bit of that left over from last season where it was it turned into 3rd and Lee, where it was, no matter what the situation was, they were going to, if it was 3rd and 8, they were going to get 9. If it's 3rd and 2, they're going to get 3. If it's 3rd and 14, they're going to get 15. Like that type of thing was happening down the stretch of last season. And, and they just couldn't do it. And there's still shades of that every once in a while. But for the most part, like that, the 3rd down conversion rate, I think that'll be that's a huge thing in favor of Missouri, obviously. But for Vanderbilt, if they're 2% on the flip side, I think can kind of counterbalance that. So they're just they're going to have to, points are going to be a premium, and they're going to have to.
And a big caveat, I think, with that 3rd down and, earlier downs too, both of these teams are very good at sacking the opposing quarterback. They're both in the top 20 nationwide. So that's an area they're both succeeding a lot. Another one, going back to their stats being almost identical, their passing offenses, they're not as good as their running offenses, but Vandy is the 55th best passing team. Missouri's 58th. They're 245 yards to 241 yards. It's about as close as you can get at this point in the season.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm going to react to all of that next.
Yeah.
First, I want to tell you about Quo, because this is interesting. It used to be Open Phone, and it's a tool that makes a huge difference for business owners. And it's the same great business phone system you've heard me talk about before, just with the new name. Here's why it matters. Every missed call is money left on the table. When every customer conversation counts, you need a phone system that keeps you connected 24/7. Quo is the #1 business phone system that streamlines customer communications. It works right through an app on your phone or your computer, so no more carrying 2 phones, no more relying on a landline, none of that, right? And what I love about this is a lot of things. They have an AI agent that answers calls after hours. They capture leads. They just keep things going when you're off the clock. You can collaborate. So like if you and I were collaborating on a project, we could use Quo and have all the same contacts, so that like if I'm busy, you can contact people and likewise. So whether you're a solo operator juggling everything or a part of a larger team, Quo makes it easier to stay responsive and professional. So you can see why over 90,000 businesses trust Quo, formerly Open Phone. Get started free and get 20% off your first 6 months at quo.com/lockedoncollege. That's QUO.com/lockedoncollege. You can even keep your existing number for free. Quo. No missed calls, no miss customers. Also, Mike, FanDuel.
Love it.
This is, FanDuel, it's getting exciting, man. The parlays are great. And everything's rocking and rolling, man. New customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. So if I'm a new customer, which I'm not, but if I'm a new customer, I'm throwing down my $5 bet Saturday. What's the absolute lock for Saturday? What's the one bet you're going to say, Corey, do it?
If I'm looking at Saturday and thinking bets, mine would probably be the over in the Arkansas-Auburn game. It's at 56.5. The way Arkansas is playing offense and how bad they are on defense, I think Arkansas-Auburn hits the over at 56.5.
All right. And that's and there you have it. Yeah, that's going to be an interesting game. If you want a same game parlay that, maybe take Arkansas and the over. That might not be a bad parlay. So whatever you want to do, just make it fun, because that's what it does. It makes watching football fun. If you put $5 on that, you're going to be interested in that game. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com, download the FanDuel app today, and get started. Thanks for making Locked On Vandy your first listen each and every day. If you need a second listen, Mike Huesmann, off season after dark. He just had our guy JT Whitstrill. Did I pronounce that right? I know I butchered that. Sorry, JT.
Winstrill. I think Winstrill. I'll be honest. I don't know exactly, but yeah.
Sorry, JT.
He was great. Yeah, he was a great guest.
Locked On Utes. I talked to him when Nate Johnson transferred from Vandy to Utah.
He had mentioned that as well as you did, and he said say hi to you.
Absolutely. I love JT, man. He does a great job over there. Also, Chris Gordy, Locked On SEC, if you want to check out another listen there in the network. So, Mike, refresh me. They're both in the top 20 in sacks. 4.
They are, yes.
They are both in the mid-50s in passing game.
Passing offense. Yeah.
Passing offense, right? And the reason they're like that is they just don't do it a lot because they've been so efficient on the ground. They just don't do it. And Diego Pavia, hit or miss. He hadn't connected on as many deep shots as he did last season. And I think Bo Pribula is just trying to figure some things out. They lose Theo Weiss and Luther Burden to the NFL.
And they're the opposite. They're taking those deep shots more. Last year it was all short to Burden. This year they're doing more deep shots to Kevin Coleman.
Yeah, and they're just not and lately they just haven't connected on those enough. No. But again, both of these passing offenses can be potent because I feel like short to intermediate, they use these, both offensive coordinators use these in great situations. And that's also kind of a difference there. Pass protection is hit or miss. What I really worry about, Mike, is I think the edge in the sacks 4 in this matchup is going to lean towards Missouri because Damon Wilson, Zion Young are 2 of the best in the league at getting after the passer from the edge.
They are. Mizzou was, we said both in the top 20. Vandy's 20th ranked in sacks. Mizzou is 12. And that, like you said, because those edge guys, they're doing their job. They're also, I think the number might be skewed too because Mizzou didn't have a very tough outside of Kansas. Their non-con schedule wasn't very good. Yeah. Meaning they were getting up in games early, and then the second half of games they were just pinning their ears back. And teams became one-handed against them, and they knew that those teams were going to throw. And whenever you know what's coming, it makes it so much easier to defend it.
To just kind of pin your ears back and go, yeah. I mean, yeah, and early season for Vanderbilt, some of their rushing numbers, and just when you look at the schedules, you have to take all of these numbers with a grain of salt. That's why one of my favorite things to do is put context behind all of these stats because you just don't know what you're going to get, Yep. And it's just it's a scenario where like you come in overinflated, like, oh, well, I'm 100% sure because they're 12th in sacks that these 2 guys are going to get after it. Well, the game planning aspect of it is, hey, these 2 guys are supremely talented, Damon Wilson, then Zion Young, if I'm evaluating them. So you're going to, and what Vandy does is flip their line. And so you're going to set your line and you're going to set your strength on some plays to where Damon Wilson is. Or you're going to set it away from Damon Wilson so you have your quick side over there, pass pro on him, and trying to contain him. You're going to get the ball out quicker. You're probably not going to and if you're running it well, you're probably not going to throw it a lot. Like Vanderbilt's 2 leading receivers against LSU, 5 catches, 56 yards and a touchdown, 3 catches. I think it was something 40, 50 yards with Eli Stowers. I mean, it's just the numbers, just 160 yards passing for Diego Pavia the entire day. Like the numbers aren't gaudy. You just don't do it a lot.
I'm glad you brought up Stowers because with Norfleet on Mizzou, we might have the 2 best tight ends in the conference playing in this game. Both of these 2 will be involved a lot in the pass and the run games for these teams.
Yeah, and Colt, don't count out Cole Spence either. I mean, he's emerged, and I mean he's been a dominant run blocker his entire time here, but he's finally kind of emerged and found a niche in the passing game. And I think Diego Pavia's just kind of found an avenue where, hey, we can actually use this guy because we can protect a little better now. We can send this guy out in some routes, get in some red zone situations. He's a big 6'7" target. He's legit.
He's that tall. Okay.
Yeah, he's huge. Yeah, and so you might be looking at the 3 best tight ends in the league with Stowers, Norfleet, and then Spence. With the way they are in the run game and pass game and stuff like that, and the way that Eli Stowers is he's like the utility guy. He's very, he has a lot of versatility, and so
he's the gadget. Yeah, there are not many guys like him.
No, he's one of the teams that were it was the Denver Broncos that were the last mock draft I saw, which I'm sure there's been a million of them come out since I saw this one that I'm about to reference. But this was back in like April, I think. It was like right after the previous NFL draft, and they're like, yeah, it's a way too early NFL draft. There was 2 of them that got put out within a couple weeks of each other. One had him going to the Eagles, and another had him going to the Broncos, both in the first round. And the Broncos are like, yeah, we like him as a joker. So that's something that I think, and that's going to be a big factor. And the way Vanderbilt utilizes him, I think if you just look at stats alone, you would probably guess that they don't utilize him enough, or you would, like, if you just looked at numbers, you'd be like, well, they need to, they have this Eli Stowers guy, they're not using him. But when you really look at what's happening, the guy's getting double covered. Guy's getting he's a decoy, he's drawing a lot of attention away from him in the passing game.
Yeah, I mean they're scheming him a lot, whether he's getting the ball or not. He's heavily involved in both their game planning, and opposing defenses have to account for him all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're going to wrap this thing up. I want to take a peek more at Missouri's offense and Vanderbilt's defense. And we're going to do a little bit there and briefly touch on the special teams as well. We'll do that.
I got some numbers for you. Yep.
Let's do it. Fire them away. Next. But real quick, I'd be remiss if I didn't tell you about our friends over at Mazda. Yeah, they craft cars for those who do simply more than move, or who do more than simply move. Mazda delivers confidence with every ride, with more IIHS top safety pick awards than anybody else. From footwork to breathwork, athletes sweat all the details. Mazda brings this same intention on how we craft every model. You can feel the Japanese craftsmanship every time in every detail, from the metallic accents to available Napa leather upholstery. You can make everyday drives feel like anything but. From smooth handling to intuitive controls, with all-wheel drive standard in every crossover SUV, you can drive with confidence through almost any season. Like our players, we sweat every detail, because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda, move and be moved. All right, wrapping up the show here. We got Mike Huesmann, All Season After Dark. If you're missing out on that, man, he is, when you talk about utility, when you talk about versatility, Mike Huesmann is your guy, right? He's phenomenal there, man. He's covered every corner of every nook and cranny, every corner of this country. A lot of G5 stuff that's super interesting. Topper talk. He dove in with the Utes in his last episode with JT. So make sure you check that out.
We will likely have a Sunbelt episode next week, though the teams are still up in the air.
Okay. You heard it here first. All right, Mike, you have some more questions for me. Fire away.
We talked about third down offenses being elite. Another area both these teams are elite is run defenses. Mizzou's 7th in the country. Vanderbilt is 12th. They're both allowing under 100 yards a game to opposing rushers. That's really impressive. Considering how well both of these teams are themselves at running the ball, where do you expect the edge to come in this game? In the run game.
The edge in the run game? The edge in the run game is going to come from who's the most patient with it.
Okay.
Because it's going to be tough sledding. Missouri is great, obviously. They're 7th. Vanderbilt's great. They're 12th.
Yeah. Vandy is ironically ranked 7th at running offense and running defense.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, it's wild.
Mizzou, sorry.
Yeah, it's like the inverse, I think, right? Mm-hmm. For that, but it's going to be just run fits, patience, discipline. In that, don't don't beat yourself as far as getting stupid penalties. Play, you have to play with great gap integrity against this team, because what Mizzou really does well, because they're so good at converting third downs and they're so good at moving the chains and they're so good at getting ahead of schedule or staying on schedule, is the way that their zone scheme is designed, the wide zone, stretch zone. I think there's a slight difference. And in Monday's episode, I kind of explained it, or Tuesday's episode, I explained it a little bit. With wide zone, you're aiming at the outside hip of the tackle. And you really just want to press, and then you're really mostly looking for that C-gap cutback, vertical cut, right? With stretch, and I know the differences are minute, but with stretch, you're pressing inside hip of the tight end, but you will just want to keep pressing that edge and just press to the outside. You want to kind of bang it up the numbers there. Or get in that little alleyway between the numbers and the hash, depending on where you are on the field. So it's those minute differences that change how this back reads it. Now, that's not to say wide zone's not going to bounce and stretch zone's not going to cut back, but the aiming points are different. And Ahmad Hardy's so good. Jamal Roberts is so good at setting those blocks up that you really have to play great technique, and you really have to be able to get off blocks, and you have to disrupt there. And you can't attack, you can't be aggressive, you can't throw bodies at that, because when you do that, that's where the holes develop, because one guy is upfield, the other guy is not, and there's a crease there, and Ahmad Hardy will put his spikes in the ground, and he will find that crease and he will explode right on through it. And next thing you know, he's running down the field 20 yard here, 25 yards here, big chunk plays all the way down the field. And next thing you know, they're on a roll. So you have to kind of stretch it out, keep every gap sound. And then once you kind of get him slowed down to where he can't really find the spot, that's when you pounce. That's when you close in and you collapse it. But you have to just be patient.
And for how well Hardy's been this year, the last two games he's not been great. Alabama and Auburn both had success. He's combined 110 yards in two games. He only averaged 2.4 yards a carry against Auburn, which for the season he averages 6. That tells you how high he was at before that game.
Yeah, those two teams play tremendous run defense. I mean, you saw it against Vanderbilt with Alabama. You saw it against Missouri with Alabama. Like, they play really good, patient, sound against the run. They don't do anything stupid. They don't, and the one thing Auburn's good at is run defense. It's one thing they're good at. They can get after the passer a little bit, and they're good at run defense. They're well coordinated over there. They attack you, but they understand the concepts and they understand how to play that scheme. And I think Vanderbilt can have similar success if they understand that, and if they don't get beyond themselves and try to get over aggressive and try to make a huge play. The big play is being patient and tackling it for a 2-yard gain versus trying to tackle it for a 2-yard loss.
The worst thing you can do against Mizzou is for your D lineman to get upfield and for the play to pass you by, because then they're going to have running space.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's just being over aggressive, undisciplined. Yeah. That kind of thing. Because they're not going to down block and kick you out. They're not a gap scheme team. They're an outside stretch zone team. They run some duo as well, which one of my favorite plays of all time. I love duo. We'll go for
you explained it well last week, the episode I was on, and how Vandy's quite good at it.
Yeah. We'll go 2 hours on duo. Yeah. I mean, it's a great play. Same with outside zone. Like, I could go 2 hours on outside zone. Like, we can do a clinic right here.
I've always been a trap fan myself.
Yeah. Trap is good. It's quick hitting. I've always liked that outside zone, that stretch zone play where you give your offensive lineman, you give your running backs a two-way go, and you give your offensive lineman a chance to win a block and not have to be forced to down block or kick out or something. Like, you just let him attack leverage, and if the guy wants to stay outside, he just washes them out. The back makes him right, and you're off and running. It's a great offense for high school too, because you just have backs that can just kind of, if you have a back that's really good at just kind of creating, it's a phenomenal offense.
Absolutely.
I mean, there's a reason why the Shanahans thrive in that system. Like, there's a reason for that, right? That's where it comes from. So, but yeah, that's going to be a difference maker there. But ultimately, Mike, I think this thing's going to come down to it's going to be a shootout, but in the terms of like a Vandy Mizzou shootout. It's not going to be like a true shootout where like you're in the 40s and you're just trading points. But it's going to be a shootout in the fact that I think it's going to be higher scoring on both ends. It's not going to be what I thought the LSU game was going to be, where it was like 20-17. I think it's going to be that tight of a margin, but it's going to be up the scale a little bit. It's going to be like a 34-28 type scale, because I think both offenses are efficient, but both offenses can put points up too.
I think it'll be similar to how both teams played Bama, where you're in that low 30s to mid 20s. Yeah.
And I think the first 1-34 wins. Absolutely.
If either team gets there. I think
your winner is going to get to 34. That's my prediction, and I think that's going to be Vanderbilt. And the deciding factor in that is Pavia. The Pavia factor is the difference in this game. And Bo Pribula can get there. He can be that guy. He's just not. And I think there's something special with Diego Pavia, and I think that's going to be the difference in this game. I think it's the reason why they beat LSU. It's going to be the reason why they beat Missouri too. And
I'm leaning Mizzou in this one. I think they'll be able to run the ball a little better, though. And in looking at all these numbers, for me, that's almost the whole decider, is who I think will be able to run the ball better, considering they're both good at it and they're both very good at run defense. I also gave a little bit of an edge. Missouri's not being penalized much, 15th fewest in the country. Vandy's 94, being penalized a decent amount. So I think something like that could make a difference. Also, Vandy is quite good at blocking kicks, as we talked about. That could give them a significant edge if they do that.
Yeah, special teams can flip it there. I think they're significantly better. I think they have a better kicker too. So
yeah,
they have a better kicker. So that's going to come in. That's going to come in handy in a game that's going to be tight like this. So, Mike, thanks for joining me once again. This is a weekly thing, so I'm going to see you. I'm going to see you next week, and I'll also see you on SEC After Dark as well tomorrow night. But it's like I said, thanks for watching. Thanks for joining. At Locked On Vandy social media, at Huesmann CFB for Mike, at Off Season After Dark, and make sure you join. Make sure you check out both pages. Like, subscribe if you all that stuff. Tell a friend, all that good stuff. But until next time, Mike, anchor down.